It's been a solid year for manga, and I want to recommend to you all some of my favorite stories from this year. First up, we have Sensei's Pious. I cannot recommend this one enough for manga readers looking for a genuinely mature story that tackles themes that most stories would not dare to dive into, and does it in a way that is captivating and will leave you thinking about it long after you read it. See, Sensei's Pious is a story about a young teacher named Misuzu Hara, who after dealing with a world-shattering event is learning to cope one day at a time through the trauma she's endured. Readers who are sensitive to topics related to SA would do well to do their research before picking this one up, but if you're able to handle it, in this manga you will find one of the most well-rounded and nuanced discussions around the nature of romantic relationships, assault, and trauma that I've honestly seen in any medium period. Every character, even the ones you hate, are layered, with there being very little in the way of good guys and bad guys in the story. The story will shock you, leave you guessing at multiple points throughout. I can see the ending being controversial for many people, but I appreciated the complexity of the message and this book exploring the reality that love is messy and often not a simple thing. I highly recommend this book, and it has been one of my most enjoyed reads of the entire year. Just thinking about number 2 is low-key bringing tears to my eyes. This story is none other than Takopi no Genzai. This is another read tackling some heavy themes, but is less grounded than Sensei's Pious, which is absolutely okay. Takopi no Genzai tells the story of Takopi, an alien from the Happy Planet who crash lands on Earth and has amnesia. As he's learning about his surroundings, he's picked up and taken care of by a young human girl named Shizuka. This fateful meeting will have drastic effects on both their lives as Takopi learns about human nature through his relationship with Shizuka, including all of the conflict, sadness, and hardship that comes with it. I absolutely love this story and what it had to say about mental health, especially about the nature of depression. This is another story that those with difficulties regarding sensitive topics should potentially avoid, but Takopi has a lot to say about dealing with hardship and the human condition, and I wish it's something that I could get everyone on the planet to read at least once. Takopi no Genzai is smart, heartfelt, and full of worthwhile things to say. If you check it out, I hope you find yourself loving it even half as much as I did. Number 3 is Sekaitera. This manga is another one that would hit you right in the gut and refuse to let up. It's a story about a young boy named Ogino, whom we watch through the years of his life develop from a hopelessly bullied loser to a somewhat confident and introspective young man. Sekaitera puts a spotlight on all the awkwardness and anxiety of teenage romance in full display, and if you have ever been dorky or an awkward teenager, moments in this manga will hit very close to home and make you cringe with the level of secondhand embarrassment that you did not know you could feel. But it isn't just the accuracy of the slice of life moments in this manga that make it great. It's also the author's ability to capture the randomness of life in all of its awesome and sometimes horrific glory, and how we as humans universally cannot escape the hardships of life. None of us make it out of this thing unscathed. This manga also tackles some heavy themes, but if you've made it this far into the video, I'm imagining you can handle that sort of thing. So Sekaitera definitely gets a hearty recommendation from me. This is another story that I know the ending is going to miff some people, but for me it was good and was reflective of many of the most significant themes told throughout the story. Next up is one that you're all familiar with by now, and that's Chainsaw Man. And the thing that makes Chainsaw Man worth reading to me is not all the goofy, meme-worthy stuff you often see referenced online, but the introspective and moody tone of the story that we typically do not get out of shonen anime. Chainsaw Man definitely has its fair share of fights and ridiculousness going on in its plot, but for every crazy battle involving a shark man, there are moments of silence, with characters sometimes communicating solely through body language or facial expression and interacting with a level of subtlety that honestly manga as a medium is not typically known for. If you're like me and tend to avoid series you feel are overhyped, I can give you a sincere recommendation of Chainsaw Man as a solid read with more going on besides memes and dami mommies. I'm just realizing how great of a year this was for things to read, because I absolutely adore this next story as well. Here we have Blue Giant, a manga about a young man who discovers jazz music and dedicates himself to trying to become the best jazz musician in the world. The way this manga manages to make you hear the pages come to life, despite manga being a solely visual medium, is nothing short of witchcraft. I promise you I could hear the music being played on some of these pages. That's how atmospheric and immersive this manga can be if you allow yourself to be gripped by it. But just as the case with every good story, this manga is not only about one young man's musical journey. This story has so much to say about the purpose of music itself, what it means to dedicate yourself to an artistic pursuit, the nature of the conflict between talent and hard work. There are more than a couple of pages in this manga that left me thinking long after I closed the book. I highly recommend this one to not only fans of music, but the fans of philosophy, anyone who has ever attempted an artistic pursuit, or if you're just someone who loves a good storytelling. There really is so much to love about Blue Giant, and I hope that if the synopsis has interested you at all, you'll check it out. Number 6 is Me and the Devil Blues. This one hit me out of nowhere and quickly became one of my favorite manga, period. It's written by the creator of Prison School, but what is insane is how much different in tone and atmosphere it is from that work. Don't get me wrong, I love some Prison School. Me and the Devil Blues is about a young black blues musician growing up in the American South. It's based off of the real life story of the real American bluesman Robert Johnson, and details the story of the life of RJ, who happens to across a crossroads one day and sells his soul to the devil for the ability to be a masterful blues musician. The manga itself is a masterclass in atmosphere and world building. I can almost feel the tobacco smoke and racism in the air when I read this thing. But in all seriousness, the mixture of tension, horror, character development, and plot twist within this manga will leave you on your toes from start to finish, and is one of the finest examples of black representation I've seen in the medium of manga, period. Unfortunately, this manga is no longer in print, but if you can manage to come upon a copy or read it through other means, I recommend it, because I have truly yet to find another manga like it. Next up, we have Solo Leveling. Rest in peace, Dubu, the artist for this story, whose amazing illustrations truly brought this project to life. Solo Leveling was a surprise for me because when I initially picked it up, I was expecting just another generic isekai to throw in the waste bin. But what I got was a charming story that has truly nailed the essence of the badass wish fulfillment character and made me want to learn what would happen in the narrative volume after volume. The star of the show is the protagonist, Jin Woo, and watching his development from a weak, unconfident boy to an overpowered, mega cool guy extreme is more satisfying than it has any right to be. And I think this is because Manhwa has attention to detail relating to Jin Woo's mental state, making his transformation into the person he becomes as the story progresses organic and believable. I truly cannot say enough about the art. It's fully colored and absolutely beautiful. The world lost an amazing talent with the passing of Dubu. If you have been on the fence about whether or not to take the plunge and look at Solo Leveling, I encourage you to do it. There's more meat to the story than I would have ever given it credit for, and it's easy for me to see how it's become as popular and well loved as it has. This one's weird as hell, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I enjoyed it. The manga I'm about to talk with you right now is Matic, and boy is it not for the faint of heart. It's a BL manga, which I did not realize going in, but the narrative and characters were so interesting, I ended up binging the entire first volume in one sitting. Matic tells the story of a high school boy who is in significant emotional turmoil related to what we'll call his unconventional desires. The boy makes a contract with a demon to have his desire fulfilled, and upon completion of the task, he's killed and sent to hell, where he's taught the ropes by the demon he contracted with. What makes Matic special are the nuanced characters and the fantastic world building. The author's vision of hell in Matic is so unique. It runs on a system of power where lesser demons cannot even utter the names of demons that are more powerful than them, lest they be torn asunder from the inside. Matic chronicles the growth of our protagonist from a weak ex-human into a powerful and vicious devil who has learned to navigate the politics of hell and has garnered a reputation as a demon to be respected and feared in his own right. The BL comes in the relationship between our MC and the demon J, who he contracts with, but the narrative and dialogue truly takes the forefront here. If you enjoy wild stories with off-kilter plot points, characters, and set pieces, then Matic might be a sleeper hit for you in the same way that it was for me. And finally, we had the surprise of the year for me, and that was Rui Takato's Booty Royale. I love this story, and I never would have guessed in a million years I would like it as much as I do. I think it's hilarious that so many of the stories I have on this list are big brain seinen with these compelling narratives and thought-provoking motifs, but also one of my favorite manga from this year is about an adult film star with massive hoo-has who knows karate and can barely control her libido. Truly the duality of man. But it's no joke. I love this manga, and it's for a number of reasons. It's absolutely shameless, it has no qualms about what it is, and basically tells the reader to take it or leave it. It's not going to shy away from controversial imagery or taboo subjects, and you either handle it or you can't. The fighting in this manga is also noteworthy. I do not exaggerate when I say this manga has better choreography than most battle shonen that comes out anymore, and while it is a somewhat goofy fan service manga, it actually raises some valid and sometimes thought-provoking conversations about the adult entertainment industry that I would never have expected from the story. And while there are certain aspects of the manga that I find uncomfortable or can't agree with, on the whole it's a sincerely fun ride and makes me happy whenever a new volume comes out. The author announced that they'll be bringing the story to a close due to family obligations, which is completely understandable, but it will be missed, and I hope that this story eventually gets recognized for the diamond in the rough that it is. There you are, friends, a brief list of some of my favorite reads of the year. If you've not read them, I hope you'll check them out, because I feel that each of the manga I have listed here are worthwhile in their own unique ways and will not leave you disappointed if you choose to pick up a volume. Be well, don't be afraid to start a dialogue about these stories or some of your own recommendations, and I'll look forward to talking to you again in the next video.